Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting through the noise, really digging into some source material for the most important knowledge. Our focus, it's sharp. Residential electrical safety and, well, service quality. We're diving deep into how one specific electrical contractor operates AT Electric LLC. They're based in the DFW area, mostly Mansfield and Arlington. But, the real mission here isn't just about this company. It's about pulling out those universal benchmarks. What makes an electrical service provider genuinely trustworthy, high quality? If you're a homeowner, think of this as your essential guide on what to look for and maybe what red flags to spot.
And that mission is absolutely vital because vetting an electrical contractor, well, you're looking for real foundational stability, aren't you? Our initial look at the sources, it shows AT Electric is family-owned, operated since 2019. But here's what jumps out, the crucial insight. They bring over 25 years of combined industry experience to the table. That difference, between the company's founding date and the team's actual experience, that's an immediate trust signal. It suggests it's not some brand new outfit learning as they go. It's seasoned pros who decided, okay, let's launch our own, more personalized service. They seem focused on both prevention and crisis management, talking about safety and efficiency, and aiming to restore power promptly and safely.
Okay, let's use them as our case study then. What specific operational trait that do these sources highlight that homeowners everywhere should probably demand?
Well, the first thing is that commitment to local standards. Being family-owned, their reputation is on the line with every single job right there in the DFW community. They really emphasize sticking to the highest standards and, importantly, local codes, which, surprisingly, you can't always take for granted. With something as potentially dangerous as home electricity, following the code isn't just a nice-to-have. It's the baseline for safety and, frankly, for protecting you, the homeowner, from liability.
Right. And even though they're based mainly in Mansfield and Arlington, the sources do confirm they cover the whole DFW metroplex. You see mentions of Fort Worth, Grand Prairie, down to Burleson, Cedar Hill, even reaching into Dallas. That kind of wide service area suggests they've got a decent, capable team structure, which is pretty important for reliability, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. You need that capacity to respond effectively.
Okay, let's shift gears to the really non-negotiable part. Safety. Looking at the services they highlight in the source material, what's the single most critical, maybe often overlooked, foundational upgrade they push for?
Oh, without a doubt, it's the electrical panel upgrade. Homeowners often, forget about this box tucked away in the garage or a closet. But here's the thing. If your house was built, say, before the 90s, that old breaker box is almost certainly struggling with today's energy demands. Think about it. EV chargers, multiple big TVs, all the smart appliances, maybe a home office setup.
So it's not just about, breakers tripping. It's actually a fire risk.
Absolutely. That's the main danger, heat. Outdated panels, they overload more easily, and that generates heat. Heat that can literally start a fire inside your walls. An upgrade is just vital. It ensures the home isn't just functioning, but functioning safely and up to modern electrical code. Honestly, it might be the single best investment you can make to protect your home's infrastructure and, well, the people inside it.
Okay, this is where we need to get analytical. Paying attention to those little things we usually just shrug off, right? Like minor quirks. What specific warning signs do the sources mention that tell you, hey, the wiring or circuit system needs attention before something bad happens?
Yeah, the list is pretty clear in the sources. Flickering lights, that's a big one. Breakers that trip frequently. Or maybe appliances that just randomly shut off. These aren't just little annoyances. It's your electrical system basically screaming for help. If a breaker keeps tripping, yeah, it's doing its job preventing an overload, but it's a flashing red light that the circuit's capacity is maxed out.
And the solutions they offer really highlight how much our power usage has changed. For modern homes, the sources stress installing dedicated circuits.
Exactly. You can't just plug in a brand new hot tub or, say, a powerful computer server into a general circuit that was maybe designed 40 years ago for just a lamp and a clock radio.
Oh.
Dedicated circuits for those high-demand items, they're really non-negotiable for safety and just for things to work properly. And beyond that, they stress installing key safety devices like ground fault circuit interrupters, GFCIs, and making sure the whole system is properly grounded. That's especially crucial in older homes.
GFCIs. Those are the ones near water, right?
Precisely. They're specifically designed to cut power instantly if there's a shock risk, like near sinks, outdoors, bathrooms, a genuine lifesaver.
Okay, that leads nicely into another high-value safety feature they promote, whole home surge protection. We all know about those little power strips, right? But what's the difference here? Why is installing this at the breaker panel so critical, especially somewhere like Texas with its weather?
Right, this is a great example of thinking about infrastructure protection versus just like temporary fixes. A power strip, sure, it protects the specific thing plugged into it from maybe a minor voltage spike,
Hmm.
but whole home surge protection, installed right there at the main breaker panel, shields the entire home's electrical system, everything connected to it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Texas, perfect example. You've got huge lightning storms, right? And sometimes grid instability, power surges from the utility itself. The system acts like a gatekeeper. It diverts those massive voltage spikes from lightning or the grid away from your home's wiring and all your expensive built-in stuff.
Hmm.
Ovens, smart fridges, HVAC systems, computers. Yeah, it costs more upfront than buying a few power strips. But when you think about the cost of replacing all those sensitive electronics embedded in modern homes, the whole home approach usually makes a lot more sense long term.
That makes sense. It's a shift from just preventing disaster to actually enhancing your home's resilience, which kind of moves us into modernization, our next focus. Once the core safety systems are solid, what services do the sources suggest give the biggest immediate bang for your buck?
Well, that naturally leads to efficiency. And yeah, the sources talk a lot about LED lighting conversions. The ROI there is, well, it's multifaceted. Obviously, they save energy, lower your electricity bill. That's the easy part to see.
But the sources also mention benefits that are almost like secondary safety features, too.
Exactly. LEDs run much cooler than old incandescent bulbs. Way less heat. That means less risk around the fixtures themselves, and it just subtly makes things safer, maybe around kids or pets. Plus, they last so much longer, like up to 25 times longer. That means way fewer trips up a ladder to change bulbs, which, is another small safety plus.
They also mention doing comprehensive indoor and outdoor lighting, and that seems to serve two purposes: making things look nicer, the ambiance, but also security. When we talk security lighting, what actually works to deter intruders, according to the sources?
It really comes down to strategic placement. Good contractors install pathway lights, not just because they look nice, but to cut down on trip hazards at night. And the big one is motion-activated LED floodlights. That sudden bright light, that's a primary deterrent. It's all about eliminating those dark corners, those blind spots, making the property feel exposed and less appealing to someone sneaking around.
Okay, what I find interesting is how even a local contractor like this has to be ready for high-tech installations now, like EV charger installation.
Hmm.
What are the usual hurdles homeowners run into with that, and how does getting a pro involved smooth things out?
Yeah, the main hurdle is usually twofold. Does the home's current electrical system have enough capacity? And then just the technical complexity of the install itself. Putting in an EV charger isn't like plugging in a lamp. It needs its own dedicated high amperage circuit. Often, it actually requires upgrading the main electrical panel first just to handle that sustained high power draw without, melting something. The professional service ensures it's all done safely, efficiently, and meets code, which is critical because a bad install could trip your main breaker constantly, or worse, start a fire. The sources mention AT Electric ensures compatibility with most major EV brands, which signals they're thinking ahead, planning for the shift to electric vehicles.
Right. And thinking about the outside of the house again, the sources also bring up underground electrical work, for running power safely to sheds, maybe an RV hookup, or those fancy outdoor kitchens people build now. Why is that specific work so critical to get done professionally?
It really boils down to durability and long-term safety outside the controlled environment of your house. You're burying power lines. They have to be buried at the correct depth by code, protected inside the right kind of conduit, and the wiring itself needs to be rated for direct burial, handling moisture, temperature swings, all that. If the lines are too shallow or not properly insulated or protected, you're looking at potential damage from digging, exposure to the elements, serious risks of electrical shorts, ground faults. It's just not worth cutting corners. The sources really hammer home that professional adherence to code here is essential. You want that outdoor power setup to last for decades, not just a couple of seasons before it fails or becomes dangerous.
Okay, so we've got this comprehensive list of services, from safety essentials to modern upgrades. But the service itself is only half the equation, right? Let's turn to the customer experience, the reputation side of things. Segment 4. They talk about affordable and transparent pricing, free estimates, but in the real world of contracting, what does free estimate sometimes not cover? And how can you, as a homeowner, protect yourself from surprise costs or, scoop creep?
That's a really good question. It gets into the practicalities. So free estimate typically covers the initial look-see, the assessment of the job. What it often doesn't cover is extensive diagnostic time if the problem isn't immediately obvious. A trustworthy contractor, like the sources suggest AT Electric aims to be, commits to no hidden charges. How? By giving you a detailed, comprehensive quote before any work actually starts. The way you protect yourself as a homeowner is to make sure that, quote, clearly lists out both labor and materials costs. And crucially, it should outline what happens if, during the work, they uncover a bigger unforeseen issue. What's the process then? Transparency is key.
And the customer feedback cited in the sources seems to back up that idea of transparency and value. We see some strong examples.
Yeah, the theme that really comes through is promptness. There's feedback from Michael Kim. It's a great benchmark. He mentions getting a circuit breaker switch replaced the same day. Electrical problems often feel like emergencies, so same-day service for a critical failure like that, that's a real differentiator. He also mentioned they handled an AC-related electrical issue in less than 14 hours. That reinforces their focus on responding quickly, especially for urgent stuff.
And something else stood out to me, the personal touch, like high-level involvement.
Yes. Multiple reviews actually mention the owner, coming out himself, maybe for a follow-up or for an important part of the job. In a big area like DFW, having the owner directly involved like that, it signals a real commitment to quality control, to customer satisfaction that you often don't get with bigger, more impersonal companies. The crew consistently gets described as professional, nice, focused on doing the job well, affordably, and quickly. It seems to validate that family-focused safety idea they promote.
Yeah, and there's feedback from a Danny Rowe that kind of sums it all up nicely. He specifically praised Al for being friendly, super knowledgeable, making sure the work was done right, diagnosed the problem, fixed it effectively, and the final bill was very fair. That mix expertise, speed, fairness, and that personal touch that really seems to define what you should be looking for in a high-quality contractor who's thinking about building long-term relationships, not just one job.
Exactly. It's about trust.
So, okay, we've used AT Electric as a model here to kind of establish some clear benchmarks. A foundation of solid experience, right? A deep commitment to modern safety panel upgrades, whole home surge protection, services that look to the future, like EV chargers, and wrapping it all up with a transparent, family-focused approach, apparently with direct owner oversight.
Yeah, and if you zoom out, what all these services really highlight is that your home's electrical system, it's not static. It's not a set it, forget it thing. It needs proactive attention, maintenance, modernization, just to keep up safely with how we live and the technology we use. Which brings us to, well, a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We've learned today that things we might dismiss, flickering lights, maybe an outlet that feels warm, these aren't minor glitches. They can be serious warnings. And we know that the most critical parts of the system, the panel, the wiring inside the walls, they're designed to be hidden, out of sight, out of mind. So here's the question. Given that the health of this absolutely vital infrastructure is largely invisible day to day, how can you as a homeowner create a genuinely proactive strategy? Something beyond just waiting for the next breaker to trip or worse, smelling smoke. How do you stay vigilant about the long-term safety and the lifespan of that unseen electrical foundation that, let's face it, powers pretty much every single aspect of modern life? Something to think about.